Here comes Rick with the wheelbarrow full of beautiful, fertile-looking compost there. There he goes. He's dumping it in the bed. Wow, that looks rich.
Yeah, some of you may have seen on our previous episode at the edge of the compost pile, the stuff had been kind of dry. But now we're well into the center, and this stuff is really dark and rich and moist, so it's going to be awesome, and our greens in here are going to be real happy. Alright, so we're dumping the loads in there, and Karen's pulling the stuff down toward the end, and we're going to work our way out toward the open end there. But once we get about where that pile is, once everything to the left of it's all filled up, we're going to stop, and then we can go ahead and dig our ditch for the irrigation, and we'll put a valve right near that end of the bed, and then we'll fill in the rest after that. So what we're doing now is we are, nice wet stuff, we're following the line of this valve out, because we know it comes 10 feet out. We planned on putting some beds across where the deck is now, but we're probably not going to do that. But we've got a free valve that we're going to dig down and find the line, and then once we do, it's going to come right over here just inside of the bed, and we're going to have a valve that's going to run all the irrigation. So first step here is dig on down there and find the line. And it looks like we sunk it in there pretty deep, because we didn't want anything to hit it. But it's going to take some doing getting in there. So we've dug down a ways to find our irrigation pipes, and we actually had to take a little break and go upstairs and find some pictures that we had of when this was all dug up, to make sure that we were getting the correct pipe and we weren't going to cut a pipe that had existing irrigation going to it. But it's pretty straightforward, just like we thought. You know, we've got these pipes, these valves in this order. This one is the one that hasn't been used, and so this pipe here, closest to the porch, is the one that we're going to cut, and then run a line over, pop up, have a valve right here, and then that's going to distribute all the irrigation throughout the bed. So it's starting to get a little dark here, and we're hoping that tonight we can dig out there and dry fit and then glue the pipes in place, and then it's got to dry overnight anyway, or for several hours, so it can dry overnight, and we'll get started again in the morning. It was pretty late last night by the time we got finished here, but if you can take a look, and what we did is we cleaned up this pipe, because you can't glue it when it's dirty. And so we have an elbow here. We're actually going to lift this up a little bit to clear these pipes when we pack the soil back down in there. So just like I mentioned on the last clip, it's going to head over here, and then it pops up. And we're going to leave this tall for now, because once the bed is all filled with soil, we'll cut this to glue the valve on at the right level. So anyway, it's all glued up, and next step is to fill this all in, fill in the rest of the bed, put the side piece on, and then all we'll have to do is put our fertilizer stuff in the rock dust and alfalfa in the soil, put the valve on, fill the rest of the bed up to the top, and then at last we'll be ready to plant. Karen's kind of packing the pieces down there underneath the pipe to make sure that's stable before we pack a bunch of stuff more on top of it. You know, we don't want the pipes are flexible, but we don't want to bend them too much. We want to kind of have them in a good configuration. And then we'll just fill the rest in with the shovel. So we're all filled in now. We can see our upright tube is the only thing left sticking up. We packed in the other soil, and now we're ready for some more compost. And here comes Karen with our next load of compost. And there we go. the side is back on. We filled up here most of the way up with compost. And now we've got the alfalfa layer going in, as you can see. Good and dusty as always. And you may notice here that we're actually pretty close to the top of the bed. So in other words, our alfalfa rock dust layer is going to be shallower than what you saw in our previous beds. And the reason for that is because mostly it's going to be lettuce going in here, and lettuce roots aren't that deep. So we didn't want to put the layer of the real good stuff too far down. So alfalfa and lots of rock dust. Stir thoroughly to mix it all up into the soil. Then we top it off nice and full with the rest of the compost. Then we're just going to smooth everything out here and we'll be ready to plant. Our next step is going to be to install the ball valve and the irrigation tubing coming off of it, just like we've got in this existing bed that we've already planted some tomatoes and other things in from a previous episode. And so soil's all filled up now, and our irrigation tube is sticking off of the top, and we've got the stuff we need here. So Karen's got the ball valve. That's going to go right down there off onto the tube that we're going to cut it, of course, with those cutters. And then the T is going to glue on top of that with a little piece of tubing. And then from there we're going to make our little elbows and get into the drip irrigation tubing and set up the whole bed. In the meantime, what we did is this irrigation tubing comes in rolls, maybe a 1.5 feet or so in diameter. And that one you can see a little bit of a curve. But when it comes in the rolls, it's a real tight curve. Because we're in the part of the day that's shady now back here, which is of course the point of putting our lettuce in the shade, the irrigation tube is really tough to work with until it gets in the sun and the sun makes it nice and warm and flexible. So in any case, we rolled out, I don't know, 50 feet or so out in the front yard where it's sunny right now. So that stuff's baking in the sun, so it'll be nice and easy to work with and nice and flexible to put here in the new bed. Here we have it, tubing in place. You can see we still haven't put the valve in there yet, but we got all the tubing in place with the T's, or just about all of it, with the T's and the elbows, and the lettuce is going to go in between these rows. In these little triangle sections here, we're going to put a few lettuces, but then put the drippers on the side facing the lettuce. And the tubing did straighten out pretty well in the sun, but you can still see there's a few curves, and Karen's actually got a few rocks on there in order to keep those straight and keep them down. But once we get some more sun in there tomorrow, they'll soften up and stay right in place. Along the back here, we've got a small little section before our first tube. And our thought is that we do have snails here, so we're probably just going to put some flowers in that first small section and then stagger the lettuce in kind of 2 rows in each of these middle sections. So in any case, the next step is to get this stuff planted. Then we will put the little drippers into the black irrigation tubes. We'll get our ball valve on there, and the lettuce is actually going to start growing.
So what I have here is some romaine lettuce, these little starts here, and what I'm going to do is plant them in these little holes that I dug that are just about 2 or 3 inches deep maybe, and then fill in the hole, and then there's our lettuce. And as Rick said earlier, I'm going to stagger the lettuce here. My next one I'm going to put right here. So I'll take a start out of here, put it on in, and there we go. As you can see, it's very easy to be a gardener.
Now, do you want to go right close to the thing there? Will that leave room for the dripper to...
Yeah, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the dripper, I'm going to kind of offset it a little bit here.
I see, so it won't like soak the base, but the roots will go out and find water close by.
Exactly, that's the idea here. And I also want to encourage the roots to grow towards the water too, so that they don't stay just in this little amount of soil here. So dripper a little bit offset will help the plant to start to extend the area where its roots are.
So there we go, we're staggering them and looks like you're off to a great start. We'll check in again when you've got more of the bed planted out.
So here we are, we have the lettuce bed all planted out. We have 55 heads of lettuce here. This is going to be a really exciting year, having our lettuce bed here for the first time. And once again, the reason why we planted our lettuce here next to the house is because as the sun moves from east to west, the house will shade the lettuce. So it will have a tendency to not burn out in June and July.
So how long until this lettuce is harvestable, if that's a word?
I would say probably early June we can start harvesting this.
So that's about two or so months from now.
Just about, yeah. And then we'll have it through the summer, providing that it lasts that long. If it gets too hot, it may not stay around. But if it's not too hot, then we'll have it through the summer, and then potentially we can even have it into the fall and winter.
Nice. So what are we going to do? Come out here with a knife and just cut one head a night and replant it, or
no,
was that?
What we're going to do is we're going to harvest leaves, single leaves, so that the head can continue to grow, and we can we'll end up harvesting more from each head if we do it that way.
That sounds awesome. All right, well, we'll keep checking in. We got some finishing touches to work on here. We're going to put down some pavers and some bark, and we're going to fix these pavers so now they match the edge of the bed. But the lettuce is planted. We still have to do the ball valve. The basics are in place, and we'll keep checking in for the final touches.